A question that's just as fair as the extra levels of care taken to try and alert you and warn you or warn your guardian on your behalf. Uh, um, not just that certain, not just to claim that certain art is dangerous or soliciting of dangerous minds or minds that uh, would want to violate innocent human rights. Uh, uh, is this monkey see, monkey do mentality that I do think is reducible to, would these same people come forward and say that they would not be uh, using terms like monkey see, monkey do if they weren't on Sundays trying to say that there is such a thing to their young as seek the Lord, seek and invest in a relationship with the Lord, pray to the Lord. The Lord will answer your prayers. The Lord will guide you. The Lord will lead you. Jesus will guide you. Jesus will lead you. You have a relationship with Jesus. He will show you the way. He will lead you and teach you and show you and reveal his will for and his plan for you to you in certain ways. Now, you can't even get off the ground at the start of what that means unless Jesus or the Lord or whoever is talking in a prescriptive tense. Like the joke would be, after 40 years of praying, Christ appears before a Christian and says, "Oh, hey man, where can I get a beer?" And so he has no leadership. The the urge and the strings that have been pulled on here are all about wanting to receive information, knowledge in that prescriptive context. I can recommend a short book by Peter Stodge. It's only about 39-40 pages long to read, called Neo-Nihilism. And it goes into, to some extent, the different categories of moral thinking. And whereas I think that disclaimers on art, there's only one way that they could have relevance, and that's if artistic content were to contain acts that a viewer would find offensive, no matter how staged or fabricated the artistic content is. In which case you'd have a mere, you saw someone drinking a beer and took so much offense. Well, we're not going to ban lager across the nation, so maybe just don't watch that channel anymore. Maybe watch Joyce Meyer or the cunt who says, if you give me $100, you'll get a gold stairway to St. Peter's. No, you'll get the Golden Gate of St. Peter. If you give $150, you get an additional golden stairway to the gate of St. Peter's. These people that are yearning, they overlook this detail because they're so desperate for their deity to exist, and I neither consider any God to exist, nor do I think of Jesus in the way that a Christian does or a religious person does. Obviously, I'm aware that he's dead, but You know, knowing that in knowing that they want a relationship with beings that that don't exist. What's overlooked is the language that would be shared between those beings is being held by the believer, regardless, and that is that they receive important information in a morally and even behaviorally prescriptive context. Now, I think that all of that sort of thinking gave rise to the sort of thinking that got warning stamps put on movies and movie covers and video games and album covers instead of Bibles, because I see it as a great absconding of intellect by the religious right. Because what's going to constitute a concern to a religious person is not necessarily going to constitute a concern to a non-religious person. So I thought I would go a little bit into why I think that happens. So and you'll have people poking holes at your thinking, and then saying themselves to your face, "Oh, question me, question me, question me, question my content, question it. I want you to question." But yeah, what is instilled quite young in children is, oh, you can pray to God and He'll show you, and then that never happens. You can pray to Jesus and He'll show you, and that never happens either. You can pray to God and He'll lead you. He'll lead you and He'll show you the way. That never happens. And when they get to churches and there are organized religious groups trying to say that these things are still nonetheless true, irrespective of what's not being learnt, what's the first tool that they try to use to make their image as impressive as they possibly can? Drama or media content. In other words, art. Which is, from my point of view, them tipping the hat to the very same thing they like to otherwise, in principle, slander and slur. But yeah, it will make them a young kid can understand from their guardian's indication to a particular neighbor to hold their hand and walk across the road. So if you think they're struggling with some sort of monkey see, monkey do issue, think about how you talk to them about what's on TV. Because I can see why parents would be reserved or stand back in a way, because they could undermine themselves if they're going well, we're teaching our little kid to pray to God, and God will show him signs, God will give him answers, and God will give him directions. Then what are they not teaching because of that? Because they're afraid to confront themselves as grown adults, that God doesn't exist, and that if He did, He'd be a bad example for children everywhere. And maybe that's something that you take from stories about when you go into the city, slay every man, woman, and child, but when you find a woman who is not known man, by lying with him, keep her alive for yourselves. Who knows? I mean, you're the one that knows how to rip on movies. Does a verse like that, what does that make you do? Does it want you to straddle your God by his penis shaft, his mighty rod, and suck the end of it? When it says stories like that, Or if you find a virgin who is unpledged by her father, you rape her, give 50 shekels to her father, and marry the girl. You can never leave her or divorce her for as long as you live. Does a verse like that make you, Christian, want to stroke your God's penis shaft and suck his cum? How come? Okay. Well, anyway, getting beyond ridiculous because if I have to resort to this level of what's getting to be Marquis de Sade like foulness in my videos, then and in my recordings, then it just shows a number of things. It shows how pretty religious people are defending their wholesome faith, and it shows I think that I'm right about how pathetic their faith in God really is.